Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Open Policy Meeting session will start shortly. Please come inside and have a seat. Good morning. The open policy meeting will start very shortly. Please be seated. Get started now. Yeah. Good morning. Welcome to this open policy meeting. Today we're going to deal with two proposals, all of them about UIs. And I leave my colleague and co-chair, Shayla, to do the SIG administration part. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining Open Policy Meeting at APNIC 2025. This is a reminder how we administer the policy SIG. We have Burton with us as chair and me, Shaila, and Ching Heng as co-chairs. Policy SIG Charter is to develop the policies that is related to the management and use of internet number resources within the Asia-Pacific region. We discuss the policies that is related to resource allocation, recovery, transfer, RPKI, reverse DNS, and related services. This is one of the previous proposal. Proposal 160 version 2 was presented at APNIC 58, but unfortunately it didn't reach to the consensus, and the current status is abandoned. And this time we are going to discuss two proposals, which is proposal 162 and 163. Both are related to WHOIS. This is the agenda. We are going to do one session this time, and Burton already gave welcome remarks. I'm going through the SIG administration, and Sunny will present APNIC 56 proposal implementation report, and Geoff will present what happened with addresses in 2024. And following that, we are going to go through the two proposals. If you are a newcomer, you have to subscribe to the mailing list if you are interested to join and follow the policy sessions and everything. And these are the implementation steps. First, you submit a proposal, and then it is put into the mailing list for the further discussion. And if it reach to the consensus at policy SIG meeting, then again it has to reach consensus at members meeting. And from there will be a comment period which is followed by EC endorsement. And again, there will be an EC editorial comment period. You can comment over there as well. And the final step is implementation. It is up to the Secretariat to implement it, and it may take long or short time depending on the proposal and the policy. And this is the how do we go to the consensus? And consensus is a general agreement taking into consideration comments in the mailing list and in what we discuss in the OPM. And if you want to you have if you want to object to a proposal, you basically have two options. One is either you oppose it, which is minor objection, or you strongly oppose it, which is major objection. If you strongly oppose it, we will ask you to come forward and explain why you are opposing and why you are don't want this proposal to go on. Participants should work together to resolve the objections. And there are some other options as well, neutral and others. And the code of conduct, you can go through the code of conduct from below URL. For gauging consensus with the chairs, we'll consider the mailing list discussion, discussion at the OPM, discussion at the AGM, AMM, and confer. So for gauging consensus, we use the tool named Confer. Maybe you already have used it earlier. Confer access for all the registered conference attendees can access without creating a separate Confer account. So the Confer account, you can simply go to your browser and write confer.apnic.net and you can log into there. RIR, ICANN, and PTA Secretariat staff, they don't participate in the consensus call. And these are some of the references. Thank you.
Thank you, Shailam. So for the first proposal, Prop 162, with privacy, we'll come a little bit later on it. Oh, I've lost the page, that's why I'm trying to fill up. Where's the thing? No. I don't know. I've lost my page. No. Oh, yeah. Well, it wasn't this one. Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry about that. Sunny is going to do the report of the implementation from APNIC 57 proposals. Thank you, Sunny, and sorry about that.
That's all right. I thought you want to come back later for that one. Good morning, all. This is Sunny from APNIC, and I'm going to present the APNIC 57 policies implementation report. It took us for a while to implement these ones because of the systems and everything. We had to make sure that they all updated and tested, etc. So, but they are finally implemented, and there's a lot of proposed solutions in these policies. I'm not going to read everything. These slides will be published and the policy document is updated as well. So the first one is Prop 154, resizing of IPv4 assignment for the IXPs. The version 2, as you remember, maybe reached consensus at APNIC 57 OPM and then at AMM as well, APNIC member meetings as well. It's implemented, this proposal actually, this policy is actually for the new IXPs that going to startup ISPs as well the old ISPs as well. It is not retrospective with the previous policy. I put some examples here, for you to better understand what this policy is about. But for any new IXPs applying for IX space, address space, you will be delegated by default as /26. And if you have more than 60 peers in the next 12 months, then you'll be delegated as /25 IPv4 address, and etc., etc. You can read on the slide, it gradually increases, and the maximum you will receive is /23. For the existing large IXPs, if they have any growth in their peers, they could come and request delegation of more IPv4 addresses, but the caveat here is that they must agree to return their previous delegation. If possible, we will make sure that we delegate a contiguous block, but it's very unlikely these days with the run out of IPv4. But the maximum they can get is a /22. And these resources are not to be announced in the global routing table as per this implemented policy, not the previous one, but this implemented policy. If you are requesting resources under this policy, then you cannot announce them in the global routing table. And also these resources are not transferable. So that means if you don't have any use or need for these resources, you must return that to the registry. So that's one proposal. And the other one, we also implemented the assignment of temporary IP resources. Again, the second version reached consensus at 57 OPM and AMM. It is implemented, and this is for the conferences and events like Apricot, or any NOG events. If you require IP addresses to provide network access to the delegates, to the participants for a limited time period, you can now request IPv4, IPv6, as well as AS number. This has to be requested through an APNIC member or become an APNIC member to request these resources. It's a temporary in nature, 3 to 6 months. And once the event is completed, they need to be returned to APNIC. So there's a lot of information on the slide. You can have a look at it. So the current version of the policy document is version 15. It was these proposals were implemented as policies on 20th of February, just last week, and updated. And you can also find the archived version, the previous versions as well at that link. That's about it. And I'd like to thank you all the authors and you all as well for participating and engaging in the policy development process, and getting the PDP will keep going, so thanks so much. And also thinking about continuously improving the policies that better works for you. Thank you. That's all, Chairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunny. So next, yes, I've seen him, Geoff. Will be answering a question about what happened in addresses in 2024.
Good morning, Jeff Houston, APNIC. Like it or not, you don't generate these address distribution policies in a vacuum. All these policies affect the internet one way or another. And what's missing, and what has been missing for some years when we started along this journey, was the feedback loop. The one that said, what was the result? How's routing? How's the stability of the network? How is the address policies that we kind of create across the RIR system affect the internet? And so we started this regular report. It's not deep, it's quite mechanical in some ways, but it's sort of an essential element of feedback to understand what's happening out there and how the policies you're making here affect what's out there, which might well feed back into policies you might want to think about in terms of going forward. So this is necessarily a brief snapshot, and it concentrates on the last 12 months. Now, you probably see these things again and again and again, and this is yet another version with yet more colours. The one on the left is the volume of addresses since 2012. And as you can see, it's coloured by RIR, but it kind of shows the rundown in the output of addresses into the community across exhaustion. The last big year was actually 2010, where 330 million addresses were sent out. By 2012, we were into a more constrained policy. And at the time, I think we did around 110 million addresses. And as you can see, the decline is kind of exponential. In the last 12 months, 12 million V4 addresses were allocated across the entire RIR system. There might have been just 12 million addresses, but we're slicing and dicing. We really are slicing and dicing. And these days, if I can see it from here, does that say 4,200? I need better glasses or a telescope. 4,200 allocations, which is actually not that much different from previous years. The blue, as I recall, is APNIC. Thank you, someone who can see. And oddly enough, there's a fair deal of transactions going on inside APNIC, less in the other RIRs, and that's been the case for quite some years now. Another way of looking at this, because columns are weird, is to actually do separate line charts. The address is on the left, the red thick line is APNIC. There's consistently more addresses being allocated out of the APNIC registry than the other RIRs at the moment. And on the right is allocation transactions. And as you can see, the number of allocation transactions in APNIC is consistently higher than the other RIRs. But of course, allocations are no longer the bulk of the story. Exhaustion has meant that we process transfers in various forms or fashions, and we all publish logs of the transactions, the transfer transactions that we process. So this is the same view, but this isn't registry to ISB. This is transfers and trading between the various places. Now, addresses, 12 million in total went out of the registry system. Last year, 30 million addresses were listed inside the transfer registry, and there were 6,184 transactions, coloured by RIR. Anyone from RIPE here? Come on, we know you're here. What are you doing? Why is the orange, particularly on the right, so amazingly high? What is it about that region where they just love to swap addresses around between each other? I'm like, this is weird, dudes. And I've never seen a rational explanation. The rest of the world is kind of much more constrained about moving addresses around. But in RIPE, it says, oh, well, buy, sell, let's do it some more. I don't understand. I really don't understand. You can get it from my tone here. Bizarre, weird. Those Europeans are crazy. I just say it, right? Just say it. You're crazy. Got the message? Thank you. The other thing to look at, because I actually think this is really quite important, is pricing. Because pricing actually reflects a couple of things. It reflects, if you will, the inherent cost of getting addresses from the RIR, long wait lists, etc., etc. And in the economic view, everything can be priced, including delays. If you want instant gratification, you hit the market. That may cost you more. Now, that is a history of pricing since 2014. And what you'll first notice is address scarcity started at around $10 an address, US, and across the next 5 to 10 years, it very slowly moved to $20 an address. No panic, no sudden price surge, just a gradual pressure. Whatever scarcity factors were operating in this market, they were being expressed gently, right? There's no great sudden price surge until COVID hit. And within a year, the price rocketed up to getting close to some transactions at $60. What? No clear explanation other than the fact we didn't have meetings, we stopped talking to each other, and I think market pricing information got occluded, and the folk who were wanting addresses were running blind, and the folks selling just hung out for the best offer, and the best offers were amazingly lucrative. But by the time kind of COVID started to ramp down and we started to talk to each other again, I think we got to realise that that was a pretty stupid price. And as you notice, the price has come down and is now, if you believe that graph, variance of between, about $10 an address across that range, and it reflects a spread between 30 and 40. This is data from Hilco Streambank, the folk outside here, but it reflects a broader market pricing, coloured by size, and realistically, there's no pattern to those colours. Big addresses, rocks, small address blocks, there's no variation in the unit pricing, roughly. But stats are always misleading. And that variance actually doesn't express averaging. There's actually a fair deal of clustering around prices. And if you take the average by month across that same period of decline, what you actually find is the average price for most address sizes is between $30 to $35. So why the variance? It's puzzled a few of us. And one of the explanations I've got is that, oddly enough, you guys are more parochial about your local RIR than we'd ever suspected. An address is an address, it's just a number. I'll get mine from someone who's in the Arran region. You get yours from someone in the right region. Who cares? We do inter-RIR transfers for everyone except the African continent. Africa aren't playing yet. It should be the same. But no, in the market, buyers express a preference and will pay a premium to work in their local region and source the addresses that they're transferring in from the same RIR region. And so the higher prices actually reflect, weirdly, a locality of transfer. The lower prices are when you just don't care where it comes from and you just take the best price on the day. So trading in region, oddly enough, and we never suspected this would be a factor, is indeed a factor here. Buyers appear to trade in region. Who's selling, who's buying? By country. Despite that massive volume in the European region, the major volumes of addresses, USA, UK, Poland, for both buying and selling. I don't know what the Polish are doing at the moment, but they're having a great time out there in the markets. The relative numbers, the large numbers, UK, US, 8 million, 3 million, and coming down to just under 1 million in Switzerland for selling, and about two-thirds of a million in Norway on buying. Imports and exports, USA to UK, 5 million addresses. I don't know if this is corporate headquartering or anything else. Like the big movers are now the CDNs. They're not the ISPs. So whether it's Amazon just sort of moving stuff around or Cloudflare or whatever, I don't know. I haven't looked. But you can kind of see that the North Atlantic, the USA, UK, just absolutely dominant. And other things less so in terms of volume. Despite trade sanctions, the USA is still selling for Russia down there at number 17. Talk to me about trade sanctions. What do they mean? I don't know. The whole reason why we did transfers was that we couldn't supply you with addresses. We'd run out. And so what we'd really hoped was that those pool of unused addresses would actually enter the market. You'd monetize them and someone else can make use of them rather than sitting idle in some warehouse. The red line is the pool of unadvertised addresses since 2000. And the good news is, by and large, it's coming down. The green line, the number of advertised addresses, hiccups around, but there's more. The total amount of addresses, the blue line, is what we've got. That's just V4, live with it. What really happened? Amazon. You're here, I know. 78 million addresses appeared in the routing table one day in December. We thank you very much. The forewarning was brilliant. The amount of address space you advertised was unexpected. And the graph is now kind of had to rescale because of you. Thank you very much. Wow. Why one day? I don't know. Maybe they just like giving the rest of us shock therapy. It kind of worked. A huge amount of addresses just simply appeared one day in December. The allocated address pool, we already said 1.2 million addresses, but we kind of moved 80 million addresses that Amazon had been quietly collecting and leaving us unadvertised, hit the routing system all at once from a variety of ASs. Available address pools, APNIC is the only one saying they've got available addresses left, just a little under 4 million addresses. APNIC have around 1 million, the others don't. Not quite true. When we hold addresses in APNIC, they actually go in a pool marked available. When ARIN hold addresses, they go into a pool marked reserved. Quarantine, whatever, they polish them up. I don't know what they're doing with them, but carefully looking after them in the warehouse until they enter back into the system. And so that blue line, ARIN, is actually relatively constant. It's moved slowly over the last 5 years from 6 million to 4 million addresses marked as reserved. APNIC have almost none reserved. RIPE, almost none. LACNIC, really none. But APNIC and ARIN have large pools of reserved. I think it's some internal process, but it's up to them to explain it. So what can we say about V4? Because I'm running out of time, and V6 will be treated in a cursory fashion because there's so much of it. There is signs of market saturation. There's no blue yonder of more mobility, more SIMs, more something to fill. Most markets are phenomenally saturated. And what that means is demand for new is slackening off. And what you're seeing is just competitive pressures and rebalancing between access networks and CDNs. And they're busy cross-trading between the supply side and the client side. V6 NAT pressure, V6, they're equilibrating. The folk who have moved. The folk who haven't moved to V6 aren't likely to move at this point. There is a relatively metastable point in the market. There's no big changes that I would expect in the next 12 to even 24 months. And that means lower pressures to release unadvertised addresses in the transfer market because the pricing isn't moving. The amount of money you can get for your addresses won't change in the next 24 months the way things are going. Okay, 1 minute, 52 seconds left. Let's do V6. There's a lot of it. There was a big year last year, but it was all Aaron. One bank decided to get serious, and by the numbers of the allocation they did, they had a V6 address for every credit card for every single entity in the entire North American continent, because that's a really, really, really big number. Everyone else wasn't doing anything like that. APNIC did do a relatively major allocation in this last 12 months across into another major multinational, but I believe that was a CDN base rather than a retail bank. 3,900 allocations, much the same level of activity as V4, and a little bit better balanced across the regions. If you look at the colours there, it's much the same. There's the line graph. APNIC in addresses. Last year we did a big one. The year before there was almost no V6 activity in APNIC the year before in 23, bigger in 24. Number of transactions, we're doing more than the other RIRs slightly. I don't think it really makes much difference. The IPv6 address pools, slowly and surely. The unadvertised pool though is massive. There's so much space, and most of you don't actually immediately advertise everything you get. You slice and dice it up into /48s and 32s because, you know, your routers haven't got enough entries in their routing table, so they need more. So you get a big allocation from the RIR, hunk and slice and dice it, and then send all the shards off into the routing system. We thank you for your care. The advertised space is much, much lower. And if you compare the ratios of advertised to unadvertised, over in V6 land, almost 2/3 of the address space that we've allocated is not visible. It's just not. I've run out of time. I'm going really quickly. V4, downward pressure. So V6 deployment, the big sneeze that was India in 2017, the gradual rollout in China that is happening as we speak are the big population movers. In other developed markets in Europe and North America, whoever has moved has moved. Whoever has not moved will not move, at least in the immediate presence. There's no real change there. So the only thing that's going to change that dial is the rest of China, possibly as being one of the major influences left on V6. The deployment graph, Africa, no. Middle East and Eastern Europe and so on, very little. China, slow and steady, but it's happening. It's just a big country, and unlike India, they're not trying to do it in one day. It's very ambitious of India. South America, Brazil, yes. Everyone else, they're asleep. Australia, largely asleep. Weird map. You'd think it was sort of GDP based, and if you look at Africa and the Middle East, you might well be right. But South America is not like that. It's sort of more spotty. So steady deployment, more services in dual stack. That's relieved the pressure on V4. The price remains stable in the market. Large allocations mean no one's really under any great pressure to advertise everything they get. The unadvertised pool is huge. Consumption rates are tapering off. The market as an entire market is saturating. So there's no great send addresses off to the masses who haven't got the internet. There's no one left. You're gonna have to colonize Mars if you want a new market. And that's my summary for the last 12 months in address deployment. Thank you very much. Oh, any questions?
Any questions or comment for Jeff?
I do like it when the presentation's crystal clear and everyone's going, I'm with you, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next, before we get John to present, is proposal 162. We'll have Sunny to present the Secretariat impact assessment for this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Sandy from APNIC again. This is the impact assessment, which is already published on the website as well as posted to the mailing list. But I'll go through here quickly. You can still access the impact assessment on the website as well, on the proposals page. So this, can't read that. I need my glasses. Prop one, no, it's okay. Prop 162, I'll look at over there. Thanks, Georgie. Who is privacy? As I said, please look at on the website on the proposals page. It's already published. So the Secretariat notes that this proposal suggests removing the contact details of the members in the WHOIS database. The first version of it was mentioning the bulk WHOIS data that we provide as a service to those who sign the AUP or the agreement. But the second proposal now is actually removed the bulk WHOIS, and it's actually for all the addresses obtained and registered in the WHOIS database. If this proposal reaches consensus, will no longer have contact details published. But if someone would like to access those details, the proposal suggests that they have to obtain a free APNIC login and access through my APNIC website or APNIC website. We have provided some questions and comments, and the authors believe they addressed in version 2, a couple of them. But I'm not going to go through it. Let's hear the proposal, and if you have any questions, it's probably better to ask the authors than me. And the implementation of this proposal, if it reaches consensus, probably takes about 3 months plus. Thank you, Chair. And I'll come back and do the other one for the next one. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunny. John, please.
Hello, I'm John from New Zealand. I'd like to do some audience participation first. Who in this room in the last 6 months since our last meeting has used WHOIS to find a phone number? Raise your hand. A phone number. 1, 2, 3, 4. A street address. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Anyway, let's go on to the presentation. So very, very small numbers of people here actually using WHOIS to find contact details. Can I have my, I got a clicker, eh? All right. This started with me being interested in the misuse of APNIC WHOIS data, the misuse by people selling things, the misuse by people lobbying for change, trying to elect people to APNIC EC. The data has been misused. There is no question about that, because some of us have data that is unique to APNIC WHOIS, and that data exists in multiple places on the web and in people's databases now, inappropriately. So over 400 organizations have bulk access to APNIC WHOIS data. There are third parties who republish these contact details online. This information is easily harvested through screen scraping. And yes, there is lots of evidence of misuse of the data by organizations, not for legitimate networking. Now, the reason we have a V2 of this proposal that covers public WHOIS is one of the organizations that publishes contact details of APNIC members online is Hurricane Electric, and they do not have a bulk WHOIS agreement. When you load a web page for, say, Telco2NZ, my APNIC member, for the first time, if Hurricane Electric doesn't have that detail in their database, they just hit the APNIC WHOIS servers. They take that information, they cache it locally. They don't necessarily refresh that cache very frequently, because I see a lot of out-of-date data on their database. Then they publish it for anybody to get and scrape. So the objective of this policy change is to prevent the unnecessary distribution retention of APNIC member contact information. That data belongs to APNIC members. My phone number, my data. My email address, my data. My home address, my business address. These are my data. APNIC has this data. I don't believe that APNIC should be sharing this data publicly without keeping track of who is accessing it. I'm not saying that this data shouldn't be available. I'm saying that APNIC should know who is taking it. So I do want to ensure that legitimate access for authorized use of the data is maintained. Situation in other regions, over in the names space, WHOIS privacy is implemented widely across CCTLDs. Now, in my proposal, I stated that there was no evidence that other RIRs restrict access to WHOIS contact details. I have since learned that RIPE does restrict contact information through their public WHOIS. And I would like some comment. Is there someone from APNIC who can share why APNIC's WHOIS returns different results from APNIC's WHOIS? Anyway, in the question section, that would be nice. But it's evident from my tests that APNIC does not return all of the results that APNIC does when using their WHOIS. So a proposed policy solution is removing the contact details from public WHOIS, restricting access to my APNIC and authenticated API users. Now, Sunny in the impact statement did not mention authenticated API users. Authenticated API users would be users of RDAP who have authenticated. There is a standard now via RFC for authentication using RDAP. And the goal of this was to protect private data, such as contact details. If you go back and look at the entire origin of RDAP and read the RFCs around it, a good part of the reason that it's been designed the way it has been designed is so that you can limit the data access to the public. And the last thing I want to do, bulk WHOIS, is eliminate the contact information, ask bulk WHOIS consumers to remove stored contact data from their stores, and publish a list of authenticated API users and bulk WHOIS users so that the community knows who is it that has access to all of our data. Advantages: enhances privacy and data sovereignty. We had good support from Bhutan, who are very concerned with data sovereignty. Again, contact data belongs to the owner of the contact data. It's not public data. It's our data. Advantage: reduces nuisance contacts. Absolutely. Disadvantages: I don't think there are any, because I think that legitimate access is maintained. I know there are people who disagree. Impact on resource holders: I don't believe there's an impact on resource holders. Again, there are people who disagree. But I don't believe that there is an impact because essential contact data remains available via authenticated APNIC services. And that's it, a couple of references. And what happens next? I've never done this policy thing, so hi.
Thank you, John. Do we have any questions or comments for this proposal? So please go to the mic and state your name and affiliation and speak. Akinori.
Thank you, John. Akinori Maimura from APNIC. Because you stated our organization's name to us 3 times, then that's my reason for it to come here. But however, I am not so ready for answering your question. So let us have some time to get back to you with some effective question answer for that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. There an online?
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Hello.
I'm Oanh from APNIC. Also, yes, firstly, I think we are thinking about the privacy. It's a good time for us. For domain name, we obviously many people, many organizations to care about the privacy and personal policy. Contact, like your recommendation, is very important for person. For my personally, I believe that I support the proposal. However, I just remind some of the issue. For example, as you know, you would like to remove contact field like address, phone, email, and everything on public WHOIS. How happen when someone regarding to the phishing and abuse? regarding to the IP address. So what happened when someone would like to contact to the holder? Another way, as you know, I just see your presentation. You talk about 400 company has a WHOI database, and if we officially consider proposal, what happened is the other database? Do you do anything to protect other people? They already public privacy information within in the 400 companies. And the other thing, you ensure about who consumers remove store contact data. And I'm not sure about that because we got the database about the contact data in APNIC database and also in some ways. So I'm not sure we ensure to remove. So how to connect to the consumers? Yes, it might recommend and wonder about your proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. I can address part of this. APNIC did send a survey to all of the bulk consumers of the data, asking them, informing them of the policy proposal and asking them for their comment. And only a few responses were made. I should say that the bulk access agreement, once established with APNIC, is not time bound. So if, for example, you're a researcher like me who in, say, 2016 signed a bulk WHOIS agreement, it turns out that not only is that agreement still valid, but I seem to have two APNIC bulk WHOIS agreements because I got 2 copies of the survey. Why, I don't know. Have I tested whether or not I can still download all of the data via FTP? I haven't, but I imagine I can.
We've got a
One more comment.
Thank you.
Yes, okay. Maybe it's the proposal, maybe we think about with the contact detail when we public WHOI. For example, when they on behalf of the company, the holder of the company, so we recommend the member, the entity, the IP member from our region to can use the company contact, for example, address of company, mobile company. So it's easier for the privacy information. And sometimes regarding to you talk about the address, the home address. So I believe that don't do that. Please use the contact and address of the company, not the personal information. That also in the proposals, I think it's good. So it's maybe you can change something in the detail because it's not easy to can remove all those contact. We need to some contact to easy to contact the customer, the members. So maybe in the public WHOIS database. So just think about some of the contact should be public or not. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I give the mic to Gaurav, we've got a comment on Zoom. John, you asked for a show of hands about who looked up contact information in the last 6 months. As confirmed by APNIC, there's been 1.4 million IP addresses using whoisapnic.net in a recent 7 days period. You should consider automated systems and not just people that might be making these queries.
Thank you. That's a good comment. And my response is that any automated system should easily be able to use authenticated RDAP. And it is these automated systems that we should be most concerned with.
Gaurav?
Hey, this is Gaurav speaking for myself. Have you looked at Prop 125?
I have not. Is this an APNIC proposal?
Yes, it was passed many years ago. Shows how long I've been around, but I kind of was wondering why the Secretariat Impact did not consider it was the policy on IRT, publishing abuse, and the policy explicitly states that members will publish it publicly. And that was what our colleague from VNIC was earlier alluding to. When it comes to abuse and incident response, the policy conflicts. And I'm kind of disappointed the secretary did not point that out in this policy. So we should probably have that clarified. If there's a conflicting policy, how does this impact? It's just not going to the substance of it, but I don't want a policy that conflicts with an existing policy and creates a confusion further out there.
So Prop 125 ensures that APNIC members will be published, but also their addresses and phone numbers?
Email addresses.
Email.
They are required to create a IRT object,
Okay.
incident response team object, and publish it
Thank you.
publicly. And that is the entire intent of that was that it is publicly published. You can go back and look it up. I had to look it up. It's Prop 125.
Thank you. Kenny.
Thank you, Kenny Clark speaking in my personal capacity. And I basically have two comments. The first comment, the same as Gara mentioned, basically that also valid our previous proposal, our policy, because we need to identify the abuse content, especially we need to validate abuse content every 6 months. So that's to prevent someone with serious real person taking care of abuse content. So that against that kind of policy. And my second comment would be, instead of removing contact field from a public who is public, we can also reconsider probably the contact field can be changed to role-based contact. That's why I encourage all the members to do, for example, like assistant admin, like instead of real name put inside of who is. That can be one way to prevent, to violate personal data. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My comment regarding role-based contacts is that APNIC has many members who are not very technical and who do not really have the skills in-house to update their WHOIS data. I would say the majority of APNIC members have not updated their WHOIS data since it was first established and would probably be hard-pressed to do it if they were asked. I can respond.
Thank you very much. I can remember from JPNIC. To answer your question for the JPNIC resource, the one of the complicated situation with the JPNIC is that JPNIC predates APNIC, and then we have our own assignment. In that case, that block is indicated as the JPNIC's the JPNIC is holder in the APNIC database, but in the JPNIC WHOIS, we display the individual holder name. So that's that kind of perceived inconsistency might be exist. That's one point. But I'm really happy to discuss with you about the individual cases. So let's do that. That's one point. Another point, that's already introduced by the Tsurumaki-san from the Japan Open Policy Forum steering team. That we had some discussion in Japan about this proposal, and then we observed that many people are against for this proposal, in the reason that many of them are actually what is it? Those who need to respond to the inquiry from the many users, and then in that case, they definitely need the contact information of each resource to combat with the abuse or such kind of thing. Then I think that in this room, I guess that there's a few people who are in charge of such abuse contact and abuse that the section who deal with the abuse. So that's maybe my guess. I may be wrong, but that's my observation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And my observation is that these people could still get access to this data by either logging into my APNIC or by using authenticated RDAP to get the information in an automated fashion.
To the point. That doesn't work for the other region. That's a huge problem.
It does, because anyone in the entire world can sign up for a free My APNIC account.
Stay there. Dr. Murray.
In that case, the all ISPs need to have the APNIC account. Is that your?
If they want to get
Okay.
contact details from an APNIC member, then yes.
All right, that is something, but okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I think there will be a very limited number of cases that this happens, and just my opinion. We're out of time, eh?
No, we can push a little bit. Sunny,
Yes, Sunny from APNIC, just commenting on Gaurav's point there. Prop 125 does require to provide email ID for the admin C and tech C in the IRT object, but we don't believe this is a conflict of proposal here because the policies get reviewed and proposals are presented to address some solutions or issues that's been in the current situation. So we don't believe there's a conflict there. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, Sunny. We've got a Zoom question. Okay. Still from Liam. One of the
Can you give
primary-
the name of the question of the person from Zoom, please?
Yeah, Liam Robert Stephen.
From Telstra. Okay.
What am I suggesting is that the impact could range from minimal to very large, depending on why queries are being made. One of the primary uses of WHOIS contact information is to contact resource owner primarily via email or operational abuse issue across the internet. How will a network entry in Europe contact a NOC or IRT in the Asia Pacific region? Are you suggesting every network in the world need to request access to APNIC authenticated systems?
Yes, and I believe the number of networks that will need to have authenticated access to APNIC systems will be very small.
And I have a question.
Sure.
So what you're trying to achieve here is if I just use a CLI and type WHOIS .IP address, could I still get the abuse email address directly?
You should be able to get the abuse email address
Without-
because that's not a personal contact information.
So you just want to remove unauthenticated details,
Such as home addresses,
such as
business addresses, telephone numbers, fax numbers, personal email addresses.
okay.
And if need be, the policy could be clarified again.
Please.
Hi, my name is Alvin Kwan from CSC, speaking on a personal capacity. I mainly travel in the domain world, and this is certainly a problem that has been discussed for a long time and result in some controversial. I think the main problem that we see in the domain side is because the restriction basically cut off even legitimate use of the access to the WHOIS record. And I find that in your proposal, this may not be a problem because there's a way for legitimate user to actually obtain the information even in bulk, which is great. But one thing that I find to be maybe missing at the moment is how do we actually evaluate who are legitimate user, because the problem statement basically state that there are people misusing the information, but if there's no criteria for evaluating who should be able to obtain the data, the abuser can certainly be able to still obtain the information, and the problem may not be able to resolve itself. So I think that might be something that should be considered, the evaluation criteria of who are the legitimate user of the WHOIS. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. And in the current situation, if you are using RDAP, you can make 1.5 million queries and no one cares. So there's definitely a gap there. Thank you.
Hey,
Garib.
Gaurav, speaking for myself, I think I'm in general supportive of this policy. I mean, don't get me wrong here, because, all the reasons you said, scraping of data, unauthorized use, but I've also given up on receiving spam. So, Two things there is the abuse things needs to be clarified because that I do believe we had extensive discussions around that back in 17, 18 is a requirement for members, and publishing that as a, something that somebody can email is, I think, believe is the right thing, and of course that box will probably get spam and nobody ever looks at it, but at least that is a way of getting to folks. So that needs to be clarified here. The other option could be just make it a opt-in to publish. And we also have to note that the APNIC WHO has two parts. One is member information, the other is routing information. The routing information has always been openly available. So you might want to go into that nuance of which database, what, and maybe make it opt-in. People go and say, I don't want it published, don't publish it. If people are free to publish, I'm part of multiple APNIC accounts, and actually multiple accounts now because, I can't use the same account for multiple membership anymore. So, I may choose to say out of this company account, I'll publish this role account with whatever information I have there, but I don't want all the other information that is privileged to be published anywhere in public. Maybe that is a, workaround there, but in general, supportive of this approach. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a moment, Secretariat. Are we going to have transcripts of all of these comments? Yes? Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Garib. I just want to make sure we capture all this because I'm not going to remember it all. Suman, sir.
Yeah, Shuman, with my personal capacity. I just want to say the same thing Gaurav has just said, that I'm in support of the idea of actually keeping the personal information private. That should be public, but there should be a clear demarcation. There's few other information in the this WHO database that one is abuse contact group mentions. There are some other technical information like like the account name and a few other technical information that supports end users to anybody to find out that who is the organization, is this a valid object or something, all this thing. So those information, if you make it authenticated, then it's make little bit harder actually. You're very habituated with doing the command line thing and get this information quickly. So if you define it bit more clearly that these are the information will be private and these are the public information. And other can be that somebody want to opt in to make it public, is fine. That can be another thing to configure that the Gaurav mentioned. So probably if you don't do it little more clarification and detailed of that thing, probably that would be a very good proposal actually for privacy and other contexts.
Thank you. I've received comments from members of RIPE and Aaron that they are also considering this same issue. So perhaps a more unified policy proposal across multiple registries would work well.
We've got a comment from Zoom, again from Liam. Thanks, John. If you could modify your policy statement to state personal email and also confirm that email address of IRT route init noun object will be retained, that will help clarify your intent. That you have stated on your presentation slide that email will be removed from public WHOIS.
Okay, thank you.
Sunny?
Yeah, Sunny from Secretariat. Again, just to clarify, because the abuse coming up quite a few times here, the Prop 125. I don't have the data now, but we can look into it. But usually the abuse, the email ID that they provide for the IRT policy is not a personal email ID. Usually it's an organization or a group email ID for that one. But we can look into it and provide more data later. Thank you.
So if there's no other comments or questions for John's proposal, we'll go with the call of consensus. So you will be given the opportunity to indicate whether you strongly oppose or strongly support, oppose, support, or being neutral. As a reminder, if you strongly oppose, you'll have to step up and explain why. And don't forget, for those who want to use Confer to express their opinion, to log in on confer.apnic.net. So if you strongly oppose this proposal, please raise your hands. Thank you. If you oppose this proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you. If you are neutral to this proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you. If you support this proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you. If you strongly support this proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you. I will now discuss with my co-chairs and get back to you very shortly. Okay, so Aftab?
Thank you, Chair. Before you make decision, sorry, Aftab Siddiqui speaking for Aftab Siddiqui. If we have, some of us have raised our hand to support this proposal, but there are some really good comments came from this audience to make the changes. So I'm not sure how Chair is gonna make that happen, but as it stands, as written, I do support it. But if the suggestions have been, if are accommodated, it would be much better. So I'll leave it with the author before chairs make the decision. So.
Thank you. Honestly, I don't know enough about the procedures of policy SIG to know whether it would be appropriate for me to release a new version this cycle or not.
No.
Didn't think so.
So this proposal did not reach consensus, but I really encourage John to take into account everything that was said and come with a new version for the next meeting.
Thank you. And I'd like to say this was much more useful of a dialogue than I saw on the policy SIG mailing list. Thank you so much for interacting.
Thank you very much, John. And we'll look forward for the next one. Woohoo!
Sorry about that. I can remember for the record. That's good discussion, a good input, good feedback for this particular proposal. But what to disclose from the registration data is a really, really fundamental problem and question for the all registry, either IP address and the domain name. So I believe that it needs a quite, fundamental discussion, not only, dealing with a particular proposal. So I suggest that. I have no idea of how we can deal with that, but I am saying that we need a quite essential discussion about what is who is all about, what is the registration data directory service all about. Thanks.
Thank you, Akinori. Gaurav?
Yeah, a
Quickly.
general comment on this. Also, earlier I said I was disappointed with the Secretariat report, and I add to that because, as Akinori just said, the privacy conversation is just not policy, but it also has legal implications in many jurisdictions, right? And as an Australian company, how does this relate? Like, what are APNIC obligations under Australian law when it comes to PII or personally identifiable identifiers? Would have been good to know because, like that is something we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And there might be implications for APNIC as an Australian entity that it has to follow certain rules on the data. I would probably want to see that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move with the next item on the agenda. Prop 163. And can I ask Sunny to come up to the stage for the Secretariat assessment, please?
The time is 10:40. The break is at 11, but I'll quickly go through it. It's a long proposal, and we have provided many comments and questions to the authors. I believe I haven't seen any responses from the authors on the mailing list yet, but maybe the author will address some of this here. Again, this is published on the website and circulated on the email list. The proposal suggests to provide a WHOIS referral server. So when you query for an address, in one database, it redirects to the other database. We believe that, without going through this couple of slides there, without going through each one point there that we raised, we believe that the current RDAP service actually provides this referral service. So if you look for an IP address in the RDAP, it will redirect to the appropriate IR database, so IR WHOIS database. But let's give more time for the proposal author to actually discuss the proposal instead of me standing here and going through every single point there, which is already published. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sunny. So Prop 163, I leave the mic to my beautiful co-chair.
Thank you. Steve, please come into the podium. Yeah. Proposal, now he's going to present the proposal 163, enhancing WHOIS transparency and efficiency through referrals server implementation. Over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. My name is Zhong Yi, and I come from Taiwan. So this is my proposal, the policy proposal, which is regarding to the referral WHOIS server implementation. Okay. All right, so just let me quick introduce our policy statement. The current APNIC WHOIS server does not address the following issue. The first one is impairment query after a resource transfer. It's just like, if you transfer an S number to the other regional in the registry, and the INI database will query still point to APNIC WHOIS. It won't be able to automatically to redirect your query to like a RIPE NCC, RIPE ARIN, or other IR. Yeah. And the second problem statement is challenging inquiry NIR second level allocation. And it just means some NIR manage their resource allocation in different. And when resource allocated to their member, it might be able to make an update on the APNIC WHOIS server. And the third one is the APNIC database may not refer the allocation with the live updated, so it will make some not credible. Yeah. And the X-list query cannot automatically read the query to the spatial NIR who is database. So all data is still saving at the APNIC who is server. And the third one is for the downstream allocations. It's just like when a member who get a resource from the APNIC, and they might be able to doing a sub allocated to their customer, like an ISP or an SP network service provider, and they might be able to upload the APNIC with server. Maybe it just save the customer data on their own. So that's just a problem. Okay, so let me show you. This is the legacy resource. I put it as a sample. It's from it's a Taiwan Academic Network legacy resource. As you can see, the query, the host query is sent to INA, and then it's redirected to the ARIM because this is a legacy resource, and then it's to the APNIC because this legacy resource is transferred to the APNIC. Yeah, and the ARIM database has a referral server, which is allow the host query to APNIC. And this is another legacy resource. It's also from Taiwan Academic Network, and it's also transferred to the APNIC. And as you can see, there has expired domain, which is not updated. I don't know why, but I just find it, so I put this screenshot to here. Yeah, and there are management by the TWNIC. So as you can see, there has an email. It's show the hostmaster at twnic.tw, but it should be the obvious email of the resource holder. So objective or policy change, which is my opinion, is by implement of with referral server support and to allow the query automatically redirect to the destination host database. And it will also allow the NIR, like the TWNIC, the CNIC, or JPNIC, to maintain their own database on their own server. So, and the third one is the downstream allocation information will become accessible. And I see that APNIC was mentioned. The member can use the APNIC API to automatically update the resource, but the problem is some member, like the NIS member, they don't have my APNIC access, so they cannot to use their API. They need get help from the NIR. Yeah. All right. So this is the situation in our regionals, the IRs. So just only AIN implement this protocol, the referral with server, and other IR does not to do that. Yeah. So as you can see, I was listed all of our regional internet registry. So proposed policy solution is, the referral with protocol version is a RFC protocol, which is RFC 2167. I think this is made in 1997. It's not a new protocol. So APNIC can try to enable the referral with protocol, and which is allow the automatically query redirect to other II and NIR database and implement the distributed query machine to read the single server. Thank you. Oh, sorry, there has the last point slide. So collaborated with the NIR for the second level allocations. So as I mentioned, that there has some data is not is missing. So APNIC can try to collaboration with the NIR to make sure every data is correct. And the third one is support downstream customer allocation, which is mean the ISP they might be able to maintain their own host database and not using the APNIC API. All right, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. Do we have any question for Steve? Do we have any question in online? Okay, if we don't have any, okay, we have a question.
Hi, Aftab Siddiqui for Aftab Siddiqui. One thing is I would have loved to see in the Secretariat report is if they are suggesting RWHOIS or WHOIS against RDEP, RDEP against WHOIS. Some numbers. Number one is RDEP is good in many ways, but what other than avoiding what we call it man in the middle attack or something similar to that, what it will achieve rather than suggesting against RWHOIS. And else also I would love to see in the Secretariat report is what is the current status of how many objects have been created in the APNIC IR database from the NIR. So that is also missing from that. That's it.
Thank you. Next.
Thank you very much. And Akinori Maimura from JPNIC. I'm a little bit confused because this proposal as presented is really changed from the proposal which is published in the web. And then a lot of again a lot of NIR as the character string appeared, and that is one of the reasons why I am not here. Then yes, that's the what do you think that RIR and the NIR databases are will organically referred each other, but that's a great idea, but it will take a lot of time to implement that. And then I don't think if this proposal is supposed right now, implementation takes a long time. That's one point. Then I need some much more time to think about that because this is my first time to see this proposal as this shape. So that's my comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Akinori.
Thank you for your
Aftab Bhai?
comment.
Yes, Aftab Siddiqui. Question to the author. Did you manage to discuss this in the NIR SIG as well?
Did you forget?
There is an NIR SIG, the National Internet Registries SIG. Do you have any plan to discuss the same proposal in that SIG as well? Because
Not yet.
not yet. Okay.
Yeah.
I would recommend maybe having a discussion there as well because it's more focused towards NIR issues.
Thank you.
We have a comment online from Sanjaya. Is there someone from Erin who can comment on their experience in WHOIS?
Leave. You've been called out.
Okay, Gaurav, please continue. Please.
Can I go?
Yes.
Okay.
please.
Okay. Gaurav speaking for myself. I think I like this proposal as it was presented, as Akinori is saying, rather than as it was sent to the mailing list. I would like to see this separated into two things. One is the NIRs within APNIC and their data being referred to or kept up to date in the APNIC WHOIS should be a fundamental position for APNIC registry. That is not a if but that is should be a requirement because that is also APNIC database and the data it has, right? And I think that is a much simpler. Why are we not already doing this? Question for me. But I think, as Sanjay was alluding there, when you are doing RWHOIS with other RIRs, there might be a little bit more nuance required in terms of would they want us to send that to them, right? Maybe if we are getting abused, like if our servers are getting hit and we just keep on saying RWHOIS to other RIRs, are we going to be a vector in some kind of attack, right? So I think that is something we probably should think through a little bit more. So separating those two, I think the first one is a no-brainer. I'm surprised that we even need to discuss that, like NIR information not being synchronized with the RIR information. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another comment online from Anupam Agarwal. Has any recount been made to NIRs to get their feedback? I think like this question already asked.
I didn't get any feedback from NIR.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Chris, you continue.
Thank you. Christopher Hawker, speaking in my personal capacity today. I just wanted to address number 3 in the problem statement. I note that the proposer has mentioned that implementing referral WHOIS will help to maintain the accuracy of information provided for downstream allocations to enterprises or other organisations. How will implementing a referral WHOIS keep this information accurate when it's the responsibility of the members of the RIRs or APNIC in this case to keep that information up to date and accurate?
Thank you. Ekinori?
Akinori Maimura, for the record. It is impossible to make any input to this proposal because this is my first time to see this in this shape. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kenny?
Okay, Kenny Huang speaking in my personal capacity. And basically this issue not only considered from NIR point of view, and because NIR, if you refer WHOIS the server to NIR server and everything is incorrect, and NIR should have the obligation to fix the data, make sure that we're accurate to reflect the real situation. The issue actually happened is that we don't have enforced referral mechanism in place, and some of the data basically probably not only exist in NIR, probably refer to IANA, to IRIN, or refer to APNIC. So we need to, if we want to implement that kind of mechanism, need to make sure the referral mechanism should be enforced. Otherwise, even NIR alone, their database will not synchronize with the other database, and the data still duplicate different data set into different places. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a comment from Sanjay and Sanjay again. To answer Gaurav's concern, NIR's WHOIS database is fully mirrored in APNIC WHOIS. They are flagged with different source attribute, example, source, JPNIC, etc. So there is no one from ARIAN who can like comment on their experience regarding the referral WHOIS? No one? Okay. So
I think we can invite Aaron to discuss on the mailing list. Maybe next time.
yeah, definitely. So as we don't have any more comments, I will now make a consensus call. Please log into confer.apnic.net. Okay.
Sorry, Aftab Siddiqui, I need to interject. So you can't have a consensus without the proposal presented here. Go back to the mailing list.
Okay.
Or you have the consensus on the text which is on the mailing list.
He's sending it to the he's saying that he's sending it to the mailing list, so like so we cannot now. Just say that he's sending it to the mailing list. Then we'll continue. Okay.
So because the author was directly to put back the proposal on the mailing list, thank you, Aftab. There will not be a consensus call, and so with all the comments you received today and on the mailing list, you can maybe rearrange your proposal to answer all the questions that have been asked today. You will be able to get the transcript to work on it as well.
Okay.
And so
we look forward to see your new version of proposal for APNIC 60 in Da Nang.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So this is it for today. And wow, we are spot on time. Excellent. So thank you all for your participation today. And we look forward to hear or read your comments on the mailing list. And I think it's time for a coffee break. Thank you all and have a nice day.